So you're probably wondering, what am I doing on this boat that is heading down the Colorado River where it meets Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas? Well, believe it or not, this story of me on this cruise starts on the other side of the world in eastern India in the city of Chennai. 26 years ago, a software company was born. So why am I on this cruise ship? How did I end up mingling with some of the leading tech analysts in the world? And why did I think it was a good idea to ride a mechanical bull? Ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax. It's story time with Handy Andy Media as I discuss my trip for Zoho Day 2022. Hi everybody, it's Andy Baryer from Handy Andy Media, and if you don't know me, I'm the internet's handyman. I like to build things, fix things, review tech gadgets, discuss tech trends. Heck, I will even show you how to grow your own food. Now, I'm going to assume that a lot of you watching this have never heard of this company before, Zoho. So let's just begin by taking a quick look at an overview of this company so that you can understand just how big it is. Zoho is a privately held company that's been around for 26 years. It has over 11,000 employees, 50 plus different software apps. They're in 180 different countries with 80 million plus users and 500,000, that's 500,000 customers. Zoho's tagline is the operating system for your business. And it is very true because they have a host of different apps, 50 plus apps that you could use from a small business all the way up to an enterprise business. So you're probably asking yourself, why did I make the trip from Vancouver to Austin, Texas to attend Zoho Day 22? Well, it's very simple because I am also a Zoho customer. In fact, when I started my company, Handy Andy Media, I used the Zoho Sites website builder to build my website from scratch. And this is the first time I've ever built a website, and I used Zoho to do this. So needless to say, I was very interested in attending Zoho Day 2022. It was a 2-day conference that consisted of industry analysts, customers, and also Zoho employees. It started off with the mingling on a rooftop patio bar, and it then proceeded on another day of getting a tour of the Zoho farms, where we ended up having dinner over there in a very Western cowboy-like atmosphere that is quintessential of Texas. Of course, we also went on a cruise with the famed country singer as well. So it was a good combination of learning all about Zoho and also having a lot of fun in Austin, Texas. Zoho Day 22 comes at a very interesting time. We just had a pandemic that was followed by a monster bubble. Then we got inflation, a war, and now the Great Resignation. But despite all that, if you compare Zoho's 2021 financials with other public SaaS companies, you really start to see where they fit in as a private company competing against other public tech companies. And you can see from their revenue growth that they're doing very well, both in their growth and their net margin percentages. Now, Zoho is run by this man right here, Sridhar Vemdu. He is the CEO of Zoho, and he helped co-found the company 26 years ago. And Sridhar delivered the keynote for the conference remotely from Chennai, India. And Sridhar said something that really hit home for me. He said that being private allows us the freedom and luxury to be ourselves. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me tell you. It is very refreshing to see a private SaaS company. That's a software as a service company, because you typically don't see this in the tech industry. Typically, you have a public company that was probably funded by VCs, and they have a lot of pressure to hit their quarterly results. And the problem with that model is that you're not really focused on the customer, you're really focused on profits. Now, Sridhar talked at length about both the strategy and the culture at Zoho. And what was really interesting, as a private company, they have a form of what's called transnational localism. And they feel that this is how we get ourselves out of this era of economic instability. Transnational localism is basically the combination of localism and transnational approaches. So essentially, it's a macro and micro view of the world. It's macro in the sense that it has a global mindset where you're thinking about the globe as a whole, but it's also micro because you're talking about building local ecosystems around the world at the same time. This model that Zoho's adopted really started in India, and it has worked so much that they are now taking that and adapting it across the globe. And with this approach, transnational localism provides high-paying jobs in locations where you typically wouldn't find it. If you're from a rural community and you get a high-paying job, you usually have to move to a big city. But Zoho's approach is much different. It actually allows people to get high-paying jobs and stay in the local rural communities that they were born and raised in. And that has a lot of benefits because that money is then being spent and invested at the local level rather than a big city. Zoho has offices around the world, and they're bringing this concept of transnational localism to communities across the globe. That gives Zoho's local offices a decentralized approach to decision making. They have local responsibilities and investments as opposed to have everything coming out of a corporate office. Lest we forget, Zoho is a software as a service company. So all of their customers' data lives in the cloud. So the big question that anybody, customers or prospective customers, should be asking is, where are Zoho's data centers? Now, Zoho's strategy is to have local data centers across the world, and they have a very strong focus on privacy and also data sovereignty. Now, if you take a look at the location of the data centers across the globe, you'll notice that Zoho has not one, but 2 data centers in China. And you can only imagine the hoops that you have to go through to be a SaaS company in China. So they've done a very, very impressive job in getting into that market as well. Now, earlier I mentioned that the CEO, Sridhar, said that being private allows Zoho the freedom and luxury to be themselves. So you could only imagine how confused I was back in 2020 when I heard that Zoho had bought 350 acres of farmland in Austin, Texas. And as I was touring the farm, I noticed that some plants like the hot peppers were doing well, whereas others like tomatoes were really suffering. And Sridhar talked about the humbling lessons as a farmer, and he had this fantastic quote that I just really love. When the wild pigs don't destroy it, the wind will do it. Or it will rain too much or too little. And if your crop survives all of that, the market will crash. And this quote really resonated with me because it was exactly what was happening at the Zoho farms after consecutive days of over 100 degrees weather. So I found the fellow that actually manages the Zoho farms, and I asked him about the lessons learned from the employees when they're trying to grow their own food.
But there are some farmers that work on this property that they are incredible. They work their butts off and they are very knowledgeable. So they'll try different varieties out and things like that. The thing is this is a farm ultimately for the employees of a tech company. So we listen to them. Everyone's important. Everyone gives their input. You want some peppers because it's summertime in Texas? Yeah, you can grow some varieties of peppers. But we also have to be realists. We are in Texas. This place can kick your butt. It can be hot like it is, but you could be watching this video months or a year from now and we'll be complaining about rain.
Now, Sridhar is right. Farming can be a very humbling experience because no matter what you do, you're still at the mercy of Mother Nature. I should know because I built these raised garden beds out of some old fence panels to grow my own blueberry bushes. I went to a farm and got some blueberry bushes that outside to transplant into my raised garden beds. And once I set everything up, it looked absolutely beautiful. Suddenly became a micro farmer for blueberries. But lo and behold, next thing you know, we had what's called a heat dome, and everything that I had started to grow died on me the first year that I planted it. So I know all about being humbled by farming, and Zoho, I love the fact that they are learning that lesson as well in their experience growing their own food. So what lessons can a tech company learn from farming and growing their own food? Well, for one, Sridhar talks about confidence that is born out of humility. And I absolutely love this phrase because it is so true. As a farmer, no matter what you do, you're still at the mercy of Mother Nature. And as a tech company, you're at the mercy of market conditions. And I think with the pandemic and the aftermath of the pandemic, we all have lessons to learn from growing food. And I'm glad to see that Zoho has learned those lessons firsthand by acquiring 350 acres of farmland in Austin, Texas. Sridhar had talked about how farming has made him more sympathetic to the plight of people at the bottom of the economic ladder. And it gives Zoho, a private tech company, purpose. Zoho is trying to create economic balance and address inequality at the same time. Now, for anyone starting a small business, you have to understand there are going to be a host of different online tools that you will be using to build and create your business. You're creating a lot of data, and it makes a lot of sense to keep all of your data in one ecosystem so that you could use that data from one app to another. You have to put your trust and your data into a company. And a lot of people think that it's really a debate between Google Workspace or Microsoft 365. But I would argue that there's a third alternative you should consider, the one that I considered, and that is Zoho. And the thing that I like about Zoho is that it's a private company that cares about the environment and the local communities that they serve in. After attending Zoho Day 2022, I have to say I feel that I made the right decision. So that's your handy tip of the day. Now you know what's under the hood that's running handyandymedia.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like this video, hit the subscribe button, and let me know. Have you used Zoho? Are you interested in using Zoho? Let me know what you think about it. And check out the price because you'll be very surprised at how it compares to the competition. I'm Andy Baryer from Handy Andy Media, signing out. See you again next time.